We've only got 5 minutes because things have overrun a little bit. Have we got any questions? Oh, hello, Professor Moore.
Thank you very much. As a white man and as a surgeon, I would just like to make comment because this may be recorded and statistics are important. Gita correctly said that the risk of having an obstetric anal sphincter injury was 1 in 50. And that's what you will read if you go to the website for the College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. But I have to point out that that is an unrealistic statistic. Because if you're a first-time mum having a vaginal birth, it's at least 6%. If you have to have an instrumental delivery, it's 10%. The Canadians have just published a study this year. It was a nationwide study. If you have a forceps delivery, you have a 20% chance of an anal sphincter injury at birth. And and Gita said she wanted to talk about a hidden condition. And as a guy who worked in the Midlands in his professional life in a multiracial society, and then who worked for 10 years in India, I can tell you it is absolutely true. And this issue of husband control, and particularly in the Muslim society, and I found, is a real issue. I talked to imams when I was in India. They had no concept of any of this at all. They didn't know it existed. I talked to a Muslim hospital chaplain when I was doing my thesis in Birmingham, and she had absolutely no idea that women suffered this hidden symptom of being unclean as a result of a birth injury. So I would wish to emphasize that there is a great inequality of understanding in our ethnic groups, and we do have to attend to language, and we do have to listen.
Sorry, someone has. Hi, thank you.
I'll come to you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, well, thank you. It's jumping between the talks, if that's all right. My name's Melanie Davis. I'm a professor of gynecology, and actually back in the 70s, Eleanor, a health activist, and I've worked all my life to try and improve the role of women in profession. I just wanted to comment on your talk to say that a really important issue still for us is about medical research, and in particular medication, because trials of drugs in general are not done on women. There's this concern that women will be pregnant, there could be a damage to the developing baby. And so actually women just have not been invited to go into trials, and yet they're treated with the same drugs that men are for conditions like high blood pressure. And I think that's something that is current and that we need to work on. Thank you.
So many side effects, especially are only now being revealed after decades of having never been after decades of having never been inclusively tested. And, you know, it was only very recently in terms of medicine's history that women have been broadly included in major clinicals, because exactly this sort of idea that women are always reproductive potential and have no right of their own to consent to participation in a trial. So yeah, I think it's something that we're realizing, that these gaps in treatment and care, but also huge gaps in research. Thank you.
Which of course in turn leads to women being over medicated with quantities of drug that were designed for men and therefore inappropriate for women. I just wanted to respond to something that was said earlier, and I loved the talks that you all gave. One of the things I just have been asked to do was I chaired, and it may be that Michael knows, I chaired a thing for the Royal College of Surgeons to look at, it was an inquiry into diversity and inclusion. And one of the shocks that came out of my experience of doing that, about the absence of women in senior positions, about the disrespect that women of color have in the medical profession, becoming surgeons and so on, the ways in which there is discrimination embedded, baked into the system was very, very clear. And it's a source of regret to me that by having published that report, which was very hard hitting, I had a panel of people working with me on it. And I can honestly say to you that that while I've gone and spoken to all the different parts of the surgical world, I feel that the Royal College is being slow to really address the underlying problems which you've been describing, which are still not recognized. I wanted to say to you, Sandra, that because it was so important that we address this. As a lawyer, many years ago, I wrote a book, in fact, in the early 90s, called Eve Was Framed. And it was based on the very things that Eleanor's talking about, the fact that women were blamed in the roots of Christianity, which of course I was brought up in, was the idea that, you know, Eve was the great temptress, and as a result, women have been punished with childbirth and the pain of childbirth because of our role in being the seducers of men. And that's written into the whole theology of Christianity. But let me tell you, Islam and Judaism and other religions are all in the same mode of you know, relegating women to a secondary position. And so we mustn't see it as being something that is related only to one. I haven't found a religion in the world yet that doesn't do it. So let me make that clear. And religion gives then rise to cultures. It gives then in turn rise to, and I'm not dismissing religion, we have to reform religion too, about some of these myths and stereotypes. But one of the problems about it is that women are often then not well served by medicine, but also by law. It was the reason for excluding women from law, as we know, was that they were not suitable for law because of our menstruation and so on, and our brains were not suited to the logical business of law. Black women's experience is so often ignored. When I was writing about the experience of my Black clients, women who ended up in court for whatever reason, I'm talking about as defendants because I was a defense lawyer in the criminal courts. The business of the angry Black woman absolutely distorted outcomes, and women had a good reason to be angry, usually because of the way that they'd been treated before they ever got to court. And so the business of challenging myths and stereotypes is fundamental across the piece, and we mustn't allow it to be said that there is no institutional racism within law, medicine, politics. All these institutions have to be looked at, and the denial of that is going to continue to be at the root cause of discrimination against women and women of color and women from who are different in any way. Okay, that's what I just wanted to.
Thank you. Thanks, Helena. We just got very time for one quick question. Sorry, just up there. Oh my goodness, two quick questions. Two quick.
Right, I'm Elizabeth Duff from the National Childbirth Trust. Great talks. Just going back to Geeta's talk and what Mike said, what can we do about care of women at birth? Because the rates of these awful injuries are rising, but so are things like women reporting being made to lie on their backs with their feet in stirrups during birth. For example, that's in the Care Quality Commission annual surveys, every time higher. So why are we doing this? And other things that happen around birth. These injuries are so bad and the care is so bad, but most of them can be prevented or mitigated by better action at birth. And please, any health professionals, come in on this. I'm not a health professional. That's what we want to see.
That makes it what we're trying to do. I'll let Professor talk about the Wasted Care Bundle, which is currently being rolled out.
I know.
Which is helping, isn't it?
Yeah, Mike, I'll let you talk.
Yeah, there's still a lot of people who don't accept it there. It's amazing that, you know, there is a closed mind on so many things. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, so it's a real issue of training of midwives. Well, I've spoken at the National Midwifery Conference And, you know, the number of midwives that didn't know about hands-on, not pushing in the second step, you know, when the head's emerging, it's about training. And it makes it, we've been working with midwives to roll out a program called the Oasi Care Bundle. We're at the second phase now about going into maternity units, obstetric units, and training midwives about how to avoid these tears. But there are it's very simple things that can be done. Hands-on, you know, the perineum to prevent the tearing, but also about educating and empowering women. For too long, pregnant women have been thought of, you know, we have to protect pregnant women. We shouldn't give pregnant women all the risk factors because it's going to scare them. Who came up with that? I've not met one pregnant woman who doesn't want to know about her risks during childbirth. If I'd have known that I had a 3-4 times high risk of having an Oasi injury, I would have been screaming at my midwife, put your hands on my perineum. It's just, you know, there's a lot of change that needs to be happening. But the Oasi Care Bundle is being received well, which is really heartening. But also detection post-injury, prevention, but all women need to have an assessment for Oasi injuries post-birth. It's a quick and simple assessment, you know, and women, you know, don't mind. They've just been through a delivery. They don't mind somebody, you know, having a finger up to check whether there's a tear or not. We don't mind. You know, if it can, if my repair was done appropriately after my injury, the last 14 years would not have occurred. If you can do a primary repair, you know, these injuries can be avoided.
And also that they know about these injuries. So if they're not getting the right care, they're going to say, look, this is not right. Like, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I think I have other problems as well, but it's a very good point. Sorry, just loud, this poor lady.
Thank
and
you.
then that's it. Cup of tea time.
Hi, I'm Polly from Good Law Project. And now that it's been raised, I just wanted to say that reading Eve Was Framed was the reason that I became a lawyer. So thanks very much for that. And I've just got a really quick question. So obviously Oasi injuries are the result of, you know, missed opportunities and a failure of follow-up care. But I just wondered what you thought about, is there an overuse of forceps and ventouse rather than C-sections being offered to women appropriately as much as they should be?
Absolutely, absolutely. I begged for a cesarean section. You know, Rani did as well. We were, you know, dismissed. Cesarean sections have their place. I'm not saying that is the solution at all, but it's just, it's about being aware of how to avoid these injuries. Mike, I don't know if you want to come in.
Well, we've got a national online questionnaire going out right now on instrumental delivery. We're absolutely amazed at the response. It's only been out less than a week. We've got 700 people so far responding. We're going to have some really interesting data from that. We have to think really carefully about instrumental delivery. We do know that there's a much greater risk of injury, but you know, these things are done at a time when baby's not well, and doing an emergency cesarean section when baby's just about to come out is a relatively dangerous procedure compared with elective C-section. So risk benefit analysis during pregnancy is the key, and we don't do it.
We don't do enough of it, but we've got to finish there. I'm so sorry. And actually, we can all talk for a cup of tea, whoever you want to ask. But thank you very much. We have got Donna Ockenden, who's very busy, and we've got to get back on time for her because obviously she's doing very important work and looking at inquiry as well. So please come back on time. Thank you, our wonderful, wonderful guest. Fantastic. Thank you.